Welcome to the UK Young Academy podcast, the show where brilliant minds share bold ideas. I'm Weimiao Yu, co-founder of Quantum Days and also host of Load to Grow.
I'm Alice McConnell, Dean of Science and Engineering at Heriot-Watt University and Keen Hillwalker. Together, Weimiao and I will be your hosts as we dive into the work and impact of the UK Young Academy members.
We are all part of a growing network of early career researchers and professionals who are working together to tackle society's biggest challenges from every angle, whether it's science, arts, education, technology, policy, or more.
This podcast is your front row seat to stories and the impact of the members in the UK Young Academy. Expect unexpected journeys, big ideas, and fresh perspectives from the next generation of leaders across the UK.
Whether you're curious about cutting-edge research, inclusive innovation, or what it really takes to shape policy, you'll find it here.
So hit follow and join us to get to know the changemakers who are shaping tomorrow. Welcome to the UK Young Academy podcast. Hi, I'm Alice McConnell. Welcome to the UK Young Academy podcast. And here today, we are really lucky to be joined by Sandeep. Sandeep, if you'd like to give yourself a bit of an introduction.
Yes. So hi, everyone. I'm Sandeep Sandhu. I am the current exec director at Innovate UK Business Connect, and I look after quite a large portfolio of our global activities, looking at research and insights and the policy work that we lead on, also looking at private sector investment into innovation in the UK. And also building our strategic partnerships, both nationally and also globally. Yeah, so I work across quite a broad area in research and in innovation.
I will say that that is quite a fascinating job that you have. I mean, really broad, as you said as well. Can you tell us a little bit actually about your background and how that got you into what you're doing currently?
Yeah, of course. So I was a researcher a long time ago. And so sort of saw firsthand the importance of research, but how that also can move along this pipeline and be translated into providing solutions to some of the challenges we face. So I was working in diagnostics, developing a solution for detecting Ebola at the time, which was a big emerging disease that was sort of breaking out across Africa or regions of Africa, looking at how to develop this diagnostic tool. And now it's actually being adopted in some areas in the NHS, which is amazing, but obviously it takes a long time to get to that point. So it was in that area of research that I came across the research councils and UK research and innovation, and sort of moved into that space when I wanted to sort of get out of my little sort of bubble of research and really understand what was going on across other areas of research, and got really fascinated in other areas of global health, and then started uncovering all these other areas around innovation and working with industry and business. And that's what moved me over to more so the innovation side. But what's been pivotal across my whole journey from research into sort of more innovation and policy work is all about partnerships. And what's been at the heart of my work throughout most of my jobs is also always been about building international relationships, and how we can't solve any big challenges alone. We do always need to work with other partners across borders. That's what sort of brought me to my current role now, working in an innovation policy and global partnerships.
Diagnostics for Ebola, that is something that was and is still sorely needed, and it's really quite an emotional and sort of powerful drive, I would say, for it. And definitely UKRI, I'm sure, are incredibly happy to have you there. You sort of touched on it a little bit over what your drive has been and how you've moved from, say, academia to to industry to UKRI. But what actually then motivated you to also get involved with the UK Young Academy?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think as I've gone on my own journey through working in research and then being more involved with what's going on at a government level, and then also kind of being very industry focused and industry facing in my current role, what I've realized is there needs to be a lot of collaboration across all these different areas. And sometimes in academia, we can be in our own little bubble and just focus on research. And in industry, we're always thinking about, industry issues and, commercializing and following money. And then in policy world, we're all in our own little bubbles in government as well. And actually what's really needed is more discussion between those areas and people to work together. And that's what drove me really and attracted me to the UKYA, because you're bringing people from different backgrounds to come together to form a group basically and try and solve big challenges by working together and sharing our own experience, our own areas of expertise to solve some of these problems. So what I really love is that it's interdisciplinary. You can be working in industry, you can be working in government, you can be working in academia, you can be a lawyer, you can be a teacher, you can be all these different things and come together and solve some of these big challenges. So that is really what drove me to apply to the UKYA and why I think it's brilliant. And yeah, so pleased to be a member of it.
Fantastic. Sandeep, I know that earlier we took part in a program as part of the Scholars at Risk project as well. And that's when I got to learn a bit more about your journey and also your work outside of the UKYA. Quite curious, can you tell us a bit more about the types of projects that you've been involved in?
Yeah, sure. So one of my areas of interest has been around science and tech diplomacy. So I work this intersection between government, research and industry, and also in terms of building international relationships. And what I've always seen is the power of you working in science and working in tech and using that to help build those global collaborations, but also in building global collaborations, the importance of science and tech in sort of supporting that. So it's like a top-down and a bottom-up type relationship with global partnerships. One of the areas that I have been leading and working with a group of amazing members of the UKYA is around science and tech diplomacy and the role it plays in this convoluted world that we're in and with all the things that are going on in geopolitics. And that's been great because we've been doing some fantastic work around sort of capacity building. So we held a session where it's a bit like a teaching where we got experts from those different areas around science and tech diplomacy to speak to some of our members, and also networks in other early to mid-career networks associated with some of our senior academies. And that was great. And we received really fantastic feedback from organising that. But also in leading this programme of work, we've also managed to build relationships with other young academies, for example, in India. And so that's sort of a bit of diplomacy in itself, really, where we're building relationships and sharing some of the things that we're learning in this area in the UK with other academies overseas, and some of their learnings that we're kind of hearing from them as well that they're experiencing.
That's interesting. So from your interactions or from your group's interactions with the young academies from overseas, are there any common trends in terms of learnings that they have come across, particularly in the area that you're looking at?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So one of the things that it's a difference actually, but also something that we should be conscious of and think about. When we're talking about science and tech diplomacy with India, for example, there was a conversation around north-south sort of relationships, and how sometimes, and I think we're guilty of it, that we can have this conversation. Well, I guess this conversation around science and tech diplomacy, when we're having it in the UK, it's a very Eurocentric view of what this means and what it means to the UK or some of our other European partners. And then having this conversation with India is actually quite different, because for them, they were talking about it from sort of the global south perspective on what it means for them. And when they're building relationships up with developing and developed countries. So that doesn't really answer your question, because it wasn't a commonality. It was actually a difference. But then it was also interesting because it made us more aware. Actually, sometimes when we're having these conversations, it's a very Eurocentric view of what science diplomacy means and what it is. And we're in a very fortunate position, for example, where we have a number of science attaches in a lot of countries, whereas other countries might not have those science attaches, and we lean really heavily on them to help build relationships. But obviously not every country has that opportunity.
That's a really interesting observation. Sandeep, because I know that this is a project that you've been involved in ever since you joined the UKYA. Have there been any challenges that you faced along the way?
Yeah, that's another really good question. I guess not so much a challenge, but I think something that I enjoyed but there was no direct answer at the very beginning of it. But I think it was probably at the inception of the project, really trying to think about what do we want to achieve in science and tech diplomacy? What are we focusing on? Because it's such a broad topic and it can mean different things to different people. So what are we trying to achieve and how do we measure that? And doing that in a group of people from different backgrounds who might be thinking about doing other pieces of work. So really bringing that group together and to come under and work together under the same sort of vision and deliver pieces of work under particular sort of programs was, I wouldn't say a challenge, but something that required a lot of thought, a lot of effort and a lot of time. And of course, we're all doing this in addition to our full-time jobs. So that was something that I think required a bit of effort from everyone involved. But, we all enjoyed working on the topic. So it wasn't such a hardship, but it was perhaps more work than I thought it might be in the very beginning.
One follow-up to that point then, how have you found it balancing, doing meaningful projects within the UKYA and your full-time job?
Yes, that has been challenging, but I think it's been challenging, but the group of us that are working on it, we're so passionate and interested about it. We've all made time to work on it, but I think we've also had to be pragmatic and realize we can't deliver everything as rapidly as we would like. So it's taken time to do some of our activities. So for example, the capacity building event that we led on, that happened perhaps a year after we had initially kicked off the program. So I guess it's just being pragmatic that things won't happen overnight and things will take time. And for example, the panel session when we collaborated with INYAS, the Indian Young Academy, that was sort of 7-8 months into the program. So I guess it's just trying to be honest with ourselves. What can we realistically deliver when we're doing this alongside our full-time jobs, and without killing ourselves to deliver something? But the passion is all there. We all want to deliver something, so we all make time to do it, but we all have to pitch in. And working with such a great group of people, I think has been really, really helpful in us achieving some of our goals that we set out in the very beginning.
That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's really, really good to hear. And I would say, yes, that challenge of time is something I think that all of us can relate to sadly, in all of our jobs for it. Really, how has your involvement, I mean, you've been heavily involved in the UK Young Academy. You've got the Science and Tech Diplomacy, which you're heavily involved in, the international group. You're a part of the exec committee. So obviously, yes, time is a challenge. How has your involvement actually within the academy shaped, say, your work or maybe even just your perspective?
Yeah, I think what it's given me is real first-hand insight. And again, this comes back to why did I join the UKYA? But it's given me first-hand insight into the lives of other people who are working in this sort of, I'm going to call it sort of, because I'm in this research and innovation ecosystem, of people working in the sort of research and innovation landscape. So, for example, working with some academics who have given me first-hand insights into some of the challenges they're facing with universities at the moment, with that challenge going on, and then talking to someone who's in a startup and trying to attract private sector investment and getting that first-hand insight. Hearing this directly from people has been really interesting to me, and these aren't conversations I would have perhaps in my work life where because they're not people I might bump into or talk to. So that's what the UKYA has given me, and some of these projects have given me, because in our science diplomacy project we've got such a broad range of people that I might ordinarily through my job I wouldn't meet probably, whereas actually we're working on a shared activity that we're all really interested in, and then I also get to talk to them about their day jobs and what they're doing and some of the challenges they're facing, and hearing that has really improved my understanding of what else is going on in this really broad and vast landscape, and that has been invaluable, really.
Yeah, that's great. And I have to say, I do feel a lot of the the meetings in the UK Young Academy between all of us do end up being sort of partially a kind of a venting session as well. And it's always good to hear that in whatever industry you're in, there are certain things that are common to all of us. So I think that's a great thing with UKYA, is just bringing all of that together, both the good and the bad. Kind of going from this, like what impact do you hope your work will have within the UK Young Academy, so the community, or beyond that? I mean, you've talked a little bit about this already, but if you want to maybe expand a little bit.
Yeah. So when I talk about, I guess, the impact on the science and tech diplomacy project specifically, what I would really like is for people to get think, oh, I understand what that is now, or I have a better understanding of what it is compared to before. And that's not something that I thought people did over there, in government or whatever, but actually it's something I have access to, and I can get involved in. So I'm hoping that will be some of the impact from that particular project. The other thing is, working at UKRI, I'm also hoping that by talking to lots of different people, again, helping to improve their understanding perhaps of, what UKRI do and some of the areas that we work in, and innovation in particular, what that means, and, how Innovate UK can help people. So I guess just broadening people's understanding of my day job and what my organisation does. I hope that is one of the impacts and that I leave behind with some of the members that I meet and talk to. The other thing is that I hope to sort of leave behind is kickstarting some of these areas of work. For example, in addition to the science diplomacy work, but the international working group, that we leave a bit of a legacy, so that people think that's something that was set up and it demonstrates the importance of it, working internationally, flying the flag of UKY overseas, that people then in other countries know who we are and have, people know that UK Young Academy is doing great work. And what I'm hoping is that I leave a bit of that behind and that people continue to do that work as well, once I finish my membership after the 5 years. So yeah, that's what I hope to leave behind.
Yeah, I feel our membership, our time in the UKY is flying past. It both feels like we've all been involved in a really long time, and at the same time almost no time. It's one of these nice little paradoxes that we have for it. But it's great. I've enjoyed every minute, and I think I'm hoping everyone listening has as well for it. Are there any? I mean, we've spoken about challenges that you face. So you picked up mostly on time. So maybe that's going to come into this. But are there any key lessons you've learned through UK Young Academy involvement? I mean, maybe this is purely something in the UK Young Academy. It's how you balance it, as you've mentioned. Just kind of really any key lessons, or just maybe one key lesson.
One key lesson for me is to try and engage with as many people as you can whilst you're a member. There are people doing amazing things, and I think we've all experienced it when you're a member and you have that induction day and you hear everyone speaking about their backgrounds, the things they've achieved. I think I've spoken to so many people about it. You instantly have that, oh gosh, should I be here? Because am I doing great things like all these other people? But obviously everyone is, and we shouldn't feel like that. Yeah, it's just taking the time to speak to as many people as you can in the membership to really understand what they're doing, where there might be opportunities to work together as well, and just hearing all that great stuff. And like you kind of commented on it earlier in the podcast, but some of the challenges that we're facing in our respective areas, they are actually the same challenges, working with different types of people and trying to deliver our programs to deadlines and things. These are similar things that we all experience, and there's probably lots of lessons learned that we could be sharing. So my key piece of advice is talk to as many people as you can and really get involved with some of the pieces of work.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's both a challenge and a lesson learned. Is talk to as many people as you can and figure out how you can talk to as many people as you can is the challenge there really for it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And with that in mind, Sandeep, how can other UK Young Academy members engage with or support the work that you're doing there?
Within the UKYA, that's a great question. I think just reach out to us as members and say you're really interested, and I'm sure we'd all make time to try and share what we're working on and share opportunities for people to get involved. And also, apply to be a member. That would be my big piece of advice. It's a great opportunity, and it's a great opportunity to work with lots of fantastic people.
Fantastic. And now that the UKYA has been around for 3 years and there's 3 cohorts within it already, where do you see the UK Young Academy, say, in 3 years' time?
I'd like to see that it's a known entity. It's a known entity now, but perhaps more widely known, not just across the UK, but globally. People will be recognising us and promoting some of our work. So that's where I'd like to see us in 3 years' time.
And are there any exciting projects or developments on the horizon that you can share with us today?
So I just think in terms of some of the work we're doing in international, watch this space, because I think we're going to have a bigger presence at international activities and events. So I guess it's a watch this space in terms of global partnerships and the things we're doing internationally.
Fantastic.
So now we get to the quickfire round. Don't worry, this isn't going to be kind of quickfire sort of questions where we quiz you and mark you and you win a prize. Sadly, we don't have that for this. It's just going to be a few short ones, and it's really whatever, in essence, first comes to mind. And really just kind of a rapid answer. Not quite one word, but quite short. So what's the best piece of advice you've received?
Fake it till you make it.
Excellent. Yes, I think that's probably up in my top 3 as well for that one. One thing you can't work without.
It's 2 things, but pen and paper.
Yep, I'll count that. You're allowed that one. That's fine. And now, is there a book, podcast, or a resource that you recommend? Except, obviously, of course, this podcast.
Oh, gosh. So I haven't got one that I would recommend, but I have got a podcast that I particularly enjoy.
That works.
Which is a bit, I'm not sure everyone will enjoy it, but for me, it's the history podcast on BBC iPlayer. I really enjoy that, and that's something I like to listen to in my sort of spare time.
Okay, no, that's great. I'll have a look at that. That sounds like it could be quite a good one to listen to as well.
Great. And Sandeep, for people who are listening, some of our audience members, where can they learn more about the work you do on your day-to-day basis, and how should they try and connect with you?
Yeah. So LinkedIn is the best way to keep up to date with some of the work that I'm doing, both in the UKYA, but also outside of the UKYA as well. And yeah, just feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to speak with people that might be interested in some of the areas that I work in.
And any final words or advice that you want to share with our listeners?
Just the power of networking, I guess, is amazing. And yeah, that would be probably the biggest thing that I've learned throughout my career.
Sandeep, it's been such a pleasure to have you today on the UKYA podcast.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the UK Young Academy podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, hit follow and leave us a review.
Stay tuned, as we've got more incredible voices and stories coming your way. Until next time.